Hey, Kaylee here with a quick tip from In-Situ. Let's talk about something small but critical, O-rings. Even if you don't handle them often, O-rings are working hard behind the scenes all the time to help keep your instruments sealed and waterproof. O-rings are what stand between your instrument's sensitive electronics and the water they're monitoring, so it's important to know how to inspect and care for your O-rings. Let's break this down into 3 parts: what to check for when you open an instrument, how to remove an O-ring, and how to properly install a new O-ring. When you're changing a battery, swapping a sensor, or connecting a cable, the O-rings may not be the first thing on your mind, but it's a perfect time to give them a quick inspection. Make sure you dry your instrument with a lint-free cloth before opening the instrument or changing any of the connections. Avoid getting dirt, grease, or lint on the O-rings or the sealing surfaces. Before you reinstall your battery cover, sensor, or cable, take a close look at each O-ring. Make sure that it's sitting flat in the groove and inspect it for any twists or bulges. Check for lint, dirt, or particles which may interfere with a good seal. Also check that the sealing surface is clean and smooth with no scratches, cracks, or dirt. If an O-ring is out of position, rolled, or visibly damaged, you'll need to remove and replace it. When you go to reinstall your battery cover, make sure not to pinch any of the O-rings between the surfaces as you're installing the battery cover. Sometimes you'll need to replace an O-ring if it's damaged or during routine maintenance. When replacing an O-ring, use only plastic or wooden tools if necessary. These dental floss picks can actually work surprisingly well. Never use metal tools or anything that could scratch the O-ring or the sealing surfaces. The best way to remove an O-ring is to pinch the 2 sides together so that it forms a loop, and then use the loop to grab the O-ring and remove it from the instrument. After removing an O-ring, you'll always need to replace it with a new one. Never reuse the same O-ring because it can be stretched out and compromise the integrity of the seal. Now let's look at how to install a new O-ring the right way. Store new O-rings in their packaging until you're ready to use them. Keep O-rings away from chemicals, direct sunlight, and high humidity environments. Only use O-rings provided in the maintenance kit for your instrument to make sure you're using the correct size O-ring. Avoid getting oils, dust, or fibers on the O-ring during installation or on the sealing surfaces or grooves. Inspect the sealing grooves for any scratches, debris, or anything that could compromise the integrity of the O-ring seal before installing a new O-ring. Applying a thin layer of grease to the O-ring grooves can help the O-rings slide into place smoothly. When installing a new O-ring over a part, stretch it evenly and only stretch it as much as needed. Try to avoid any sharp surfaces on the instrument to avoid damaging the O-ring and compromising the integrity of the seal. Avoid overstretching an O-ring like a rubber band, which can damage it and compromise the integrity of the seal. Once you've installed the O-ring, check it carefully to make sure that it's sitting flat in the groove and that it's not twisted or rolled. Check the O-ring for any debris or any damage that could compromise the integrity of the seal. Apply a new layer of grease to the outside surface of the O-rings. This will help reduce friction on the surface and allow the connection to slide into place without unseating or moving the O-rings at all. Make sure that your O-rings are not pinched or rolled between any of the sealing surfaces. It's also best practice not to install any connections dry. You'll receive this grease with a lot of your instruments or your kits. Apply a very thin layer of grease to your finger and then gently grease the O-ring. This will create a smooth surface and reduce friction so that when you're installing your cable or your battery cover or your sensor or whatever you're sliding into place, it glides right over the O-ring and doesn't compromise the integrity of the seal. Never install O-rings without grease, don't use sharp or metal tools, don't reuse old O-rings, and make sure that you're using the correct size. O-rings may be small, but they do a big job, so take a moment to check them, handle them carefully, and install them the right way. It's a simple step that protects your data, your equipment, and your peace of mind.